Yet I'm feeling down and discouraged.
Promise me one thing. Don't make any big decisions.
Moving forward with the Decker team. Moving forward together with the Decker team.
We are thrilled, actually, to welcome you to another episode of Life's Inside Track. I'm Yetta Decker.
And I'm Ken Decker.
And we get to share techniques, thoughts, tips, tools, and some truths that we all need, we all deserve, you, I, everyone, so we can turn our house into home, our families thrive, and we live the best life possible. We're going to consider that when our mental state is not premium, not optimal, if at all possible, don't make any big decisions at that time because our mental state affects our ability to make a sound, solid decision.
Right. And quite a while ago, our coach, right? One of our coaches, mentors, who wrote a book recently that we've spoken about in the past.
Diana Kokoska, the Becoming More book,
Mm-hmm. She talked about the energy quadrants. And they're basically, usually in a quadrant, there's how many boxes?
4.
4, that's why it's quad, right? 4 quadrants. So just draw your square, or sorry, not a square.
A grid. Is that not?
Cross. It's not a cross. It's kind of a cross.
Okay.
Crosshairs. And if you think of one side as negative and one side as positive, you can have negative low at the bottom and
left.
Negative high. And negative low is that discouraged, almost depression, right? It's a depression.
Mild,
the further down you go, it can lead to depression. And then your negative high is when you're angry and you're yelling and you're
ticked.
You're ticked at something, yeah. So that's the negative side. And we're going to talk about the positive side another time in the next segment. And it's important to know that when you're in those negative sides, it's not a great time to make a decision, is what you were saying, right?
Right. And I think you probably, most of us intuitively know that. I shouldn't make a decision right now unless I'm forced to make a decision for my safety, right? Or from my well-being. Like if it's significant, there are times where the right thing to do, even when the time isn't the right time, it all of a sudden becomes the right time, because if you don't make it, things get catastrophically worse. So there's sometimes it can't be avoided. And yet this is that timing our decision, if at all possible, for when we're not in a negative state, whether it be low or positive. And the biggest reason for Low or high, sorry, not positive, no positivity going on this little segment. And it's had us a little bit depressed even thinking about what we were going to say to you, because we want to make sure that every word we say makes a difference. Right? And
no pressure.
No pressure. And when we're in a negative state, we might have the fortitude to make a good decision. We might be able to time it still so that we're making a wise choice. The problem is we'll never really know when we make it from a place of being down, whether it's high or low.
Yeah, like a couple of years ago, we had a client call us on Christmas Day and said, they actually own quite a number of properties. What are my properties worth? I want to sell them all now. And
we need to do this, get started today, which was obviously a red flag for us because we knew them quite well. We'd been journeying quite closely with them, helping them purchase investment properties as well as their own dream home and their own personal residences. So to get it started out as a text, because I think we didn't answer our phone Christmas morning, which would have been a good thing not to do. And yet they kept trying to reach us. And so we realized that something must have shifted. So they had obviously moved from a normal state, whether it was positive high or positive low, to a negative state. And with that kind of energy, it had to be a very high negative state, meaning lots of negativity, right?
Yeah.
And our first thing was to drop everything, rather than say, oh, let's get the paperwork done, which I couldn't even imagine in my wildest dreams doing. What we did instead was pick up the phone. we were able to reach them and say, are you open to us coming to see you?
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll have a face-to-face about this dilemma of whether we sell everything or not.
And the fun thing, it wasn't a fun meeting. And yet
No.
we never once talked about selling properties. We talked about the marital relationship, what had gone on, what caused the blowout. You know, we're sitting there basically being counselors, which we're not trained for. And yet,
no, so
got
disclaimer,
called-
we are not counselors. It's a big disclaimer here.
And yet we do some of it when we're discussing real estate needs with couples, right? So long story short, they're doing great. They've bought more properties. They haven't sold any. Well, they sold one, but it was done purposefully to change their mix of real estate, and it was done with positive energy, right?
Yeah, positive state.
In a positive state.
And so we just want to make sure that as you're making decisions, you're making the best decisions for your long term, timing it out for your whole life, rather than making a decision in this very point and time in this moment that may not actually be helping you. So in the big picture. So if you're part of the Decker Team community, and if you're listening to us on Life's Inside Track, whether it be on video or whether it be on listening on air, do recognize you're part of our community. We see you as that. And so if you want some insight about, is this the right time? Even if you're feeling frustrated and down, we're not going to take it on. We don't take it on really, because if we did, we're no value to you. So we're a great sounding board. If you need a sounding board that you feel you can trust and rely on, we will just feed back what we're hearing. We will probably not move into counseling mode. That's not what we do for a living. However, we will make sure that you've got the data and you can make a better decision.
Yeah, we want to make sure that you make a wise decision. And there are times where, you know, we've had people where they're in a down state, I would say depressed, and they're not making wise decisions or not making decisions at all, like paying their bills or cleaning the house or
Doing the maintenance.
maintaining the home. And really, the right thing is to get out of that property, maybe. And they're not ready. And you might be saying, well, that's not me, but I know of somebody that's the situation. And so sometimes we have to come alongside someone who's really struggling. And sometimes it's getting them help. Sometimes it is saying, you know, they may be depressed because finances aren't working and they're going in the hole and they can't pay their bills and the house is a burden. And in that case, the right decision is actually to sell.
Right.
But it's great to have experts come alongside you and help you determine if it is the right decision. So if you're feeling a little off and you're going, I think I'm going to sell, but you know you're in a slightly down mood or even an elevated angry mood, call us in. We'll discuss. Like if it's not the right thing to sell the house, we'll let you know what we think.
Right. It is just our perspective. And yet, because we're a third party, we're not emotionally attached. So we want to attempt to help you not make a big decision in an emotional down state.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you a question. What decision should you schedule for a time when you're feeling better emotionally? And we're honored to be positioning you to build wealth wisely because it's about much more than just money.
Moving forward with the Decker Team. Moving forward